Hello, my name is Asha Sampath and welcome to this new edition of Business Africa, your magazine dedicated to the continent's business and economic news. As usual, you can win $150 in our Business Africa game. More details later, but first, today's top stories. Guinean entrepreneurs have imagination. We dive into the universe of waste paper and cardboard-based decorations with a clever young designer.
This black design is made from cardboard. I also use wooden skewers, and thanks to Toyin creation, these boxes are recycled.
Should you trust cryptocurrency? Nigerian authorities are suspicious and are imposing sanctions.
Some of us still don't understand what the policy is about. However, the moment the policy came out, that very day, I had to pull out some of my investments, immediately.
African honey to compete with major world producers, Burkina-Faso has embarked on the adventure.
Nous travaillons également sur l'acteur principal même.
We're also working with the key players, namely the bees themselves, to select the best colonies with the highest yields.
Since 2019, the end of imports of recyclable waste by several Asian countries, including China, has led to the accumulation of paper and cardboard in the West. But in Africa, these recyclable materials are sometimes the delight of inspired entrepreneurs. This is how in Guinea, Muriel, just 23 years old, thrives in the transformation of paper and cardboard waste, and it's a success. A graduate in banking and insurance, she now earns her living in interior design, a profession learned on the job in which she wants to use as a springboard to build an eco-responsible decoration empire. A report by Sayon Koroma.
This is Muriel's rendezvous routine, picking up used boxes thrown in the trash every day from merchants.
Mr. Camera, hello, how are you?
I'm good, and you?
I'm fine, thank you. Do you have any cardboard boxes for me? Okay, great, thanks a lot.
These boxes are a treasure for the young Guinean entrepreneur. Muriel starts with sorting them, and very quickly she gives these cardboard boxes a second life.
Generally, they either throw the boxes away or they burn them. But I don't like it when the cardboard is burnt. It pollutes the environment. So it's better that I recover these boxes since they don't need them. Whereas I need them to run my business, and so I recycle them.
These boxes are then packed and transported by the 23-year-old decorator, an eco-responsible initiative.
Thank you very much and see you next time. Can you imagine if all these boxes ended up in our gutters or in our trash cans? All this trash litters our city. This is why Toyin creation contributes to the cleanliness of the city, while also protecting the environment.
These boxes are therefore the raw material for the founder of Toyin Creation. With this waste, Muriel makes art objects of all kinds.
Often I use the boxes to make designs, clock designs.
Clock designs, just like this jewel, are made from cardboard. The decorator later resells her work of art for 300,000 Guinean francs, or 30 euros.
This black design is made from cardboard. I also use wooden skewers, and thanks to Toyin creation, these boxes are recycled, and that helps to make this beautiful design.
Muriel also uses paper. With this other material, the young entrepreneur makes original works of art.
This one is only made of paper. These rods are reams of paper that I folded. Then I painted them. All these butterflies around the design are made of paper too. So there we have only paper. As a support, I took cardboard, and I have something rigid to hang on to. It's very practical.
And this small business is working wonderfully for Muriel today. Her phone keeps ringing all the time. On that day, on the other side of the line, a client from Paris.
Okay, see you later, madam. Thank you very much.
Muriel, who is always busy, has an appointment that morning with Tawel to decorate her new hairdressing salon.
Hello, ma'am. Hello, Muriel. How are you? Yes, I'm fine.
If Muriel manages to find clients like Tawel so easily, it is mainly thanks to social networks. Barely 3 years after the creation of her business, the young woman has collaborated with about 20 companies, like the owner of this hairdressing salon in renovation. Her job, as in this hair salon, is not just to decorate. Muriel also gives advice to her clients, which makes her a real asset for them.
She's the best, and in Conakry I think she's the only one in this area, in fact, paper decoration, and that's revolutionary, I can say.
The services of the young Guinean decorator vary according to the needs of her clients. Here in the salon, her service costs 100 euros, not to mention the fact that her client Tawel gave her full support to decorate the living room as she saw fit.
Wow, that's so pretty. Thank you for your advice and thank you for the creations. I want to highlight that I had no ideas. All these ideas come from her. I gave her green lights to go ahead. Here's the budget and I want a nice setup, and frankly, I am satisfied.
Interestingly, Muriel never learned the profession of an interior decoration in a school. The adventure began here for the young entrepreneur in 2018, when she was given the task of decorating her church. Since that date, she, who was destined to work for a banking institution, has decided to change hats.
The church was the trigger. It is thanks to that I discovered my talent, which was hidden in me. I had never decorated before, and I'm asked to decorate and design. In addition, the budget I was given was only 30 euros. I was wondering how I would decorate such a big church with only 30 euros. And that day I did it. Besides, it is with the rest of these papers that I created my company.
Since 2018, her project has been a hit. She perfected her skills thanks to the tutorials on YouTube, a progression that is now applauded by her mother.
I see her do things like that. It doesn't surprise me. I love you. May God give you more inspiration.
And today, Muriel's project is gaining ground, a project that has improved thanks to many services provided and orders received. For the entrepreneur, the only thing to do is to dare to undertake.
I studied banking and insurance, and I left my resume in several banks to find a job, and until today none of these banks have called me. If I had stood there doing nothing, I would have been unemployed. We have potential. Young Africans have a lot of talent and potential. You just have to find this little talent that lies dormant in you and value it.
The world of entrepreneurship, this graduate in banking and insurance had always watched it from afar. This profession, which she managed to develop into a passion, Muriel learned on the job. And today, more fulfilled than ever, the 23-year-old girl intends to build a decoration empire in Conakry in a few years.
Kenya is going through difficult financial times. The country's foreign debt is worrying while the government wants to reach a budget deficit of 6% over the next fiscal year against 7.6% this year. To cover this $7.5 billion budget hole, tough choices are on the table. Raising taxes is a possibility. Kenya would like to try to preserve the standard of living of the inhabitants and the health expenditure by betting on a 10% increase in customs duties on certain products such as luxury items. Visa, one of the world's leading players in electronic payments, has inaugurated its first innovation studio in Africa in Nairobi. There are already 6 in the world. On the continent, Visa intends to stimulate a community of developers and external customers in a spirit of co-creation of payment and e-commerce solutions. Last year, its cooperation with Safaricom led to the use of the Visa card by 150,000 merchants of the M-Pesa mobile payment solution. Nigeria's central bank is losing patience with cryptocurrencies. It has just sanctioned 3 banks: Stanbic, the Nigerian subsidiary of Standard Bank, Access Bank, and United Bank of Africa. All 3 institutions are being fined for failing to close cryptocurrency accounts. Remember, this ban on Nigerian bank from maintaining cryptocurrency accounts has been in effect since February 2021. Our correspondent Hugo Yuana was in Lagos and Abuja, and he has the story. For years, cryptocurrency trading has grown in Nigeria, one of Africa's largest economies. Recently, Nigeria's Apex Bank, the Central Bank of Nigeria, notified deposit money banks, non-financial institutions and other financial institutions against doing business in crypto and other digital assets. On February 5, 2021, it issued a stern warning and reminded local financial institutions against having any transactions in crypto or facilitating payments for crypto exchanges. It also instructed the financial institutions to immediately close the accounts of such persons or entities transacting in or operating cryptocurrency exchanges.
Some of us still don't understand what the policy is about. However, the moment the policy came out, that very day, I had to pull out some of my investments, immediately. And I pulled out some of my investment from Bitcoin, only for me to find out that Bitcoin increased again recently, and I just felt so bad,
Treasure Eruro is one among millions of Nigerians who use cryptocurrencies. The West Africa economic powerhouse is now ranking as the 3rd top country for trading volumes. With $100 spent on each trade on average, there's no doubt Nigerians find cryptocurrencies attractive.
Cryptocurrency for me is just a source of side income, more like alternate income for me. I do a 9-to-5, but it's something I do on the side and it doesn't interrupt my work. I got into it recently, not too long, and I think I did it because that was like what was trending. So my friends are going into it. They kept talking about Bitcoin, Ethereum and all those kind of stuff. And I thought, you know what, I don't want to have to be left out of this. So I joined in and I've made some cash from it.
The success of this alternative form of payment is causing unease among African monetary authorities, and Nigeria is no exception.
The CBN needs to review this policy because in 2020 alone, the transaction volume on Bitcoin alone ran into billions of naira. From Nigeria alone, we're not even talking about other African countries. Cryptocurrency has offered a lot of opportunities for young people. So what the CBN needs to do is to sit down with stakeholders again and review this policy again, because it benefits both the CBN, it benefits the banks, and it benefits the young people.
It was reported that each month $65 million worth of cryptocurrency transactions are carried out in local crypto exchange platforms in Nigeria. With the soaring figures in financial returns, will the Nigerian central bank reconsider its stance?
I think the truth we need to realize is that, look, cryptocurrencies are here to stay, right? There are debates here and there, but what we are seeing lately is that there are a lot of institutional acceptance. I think what we need to begin to think about in Nigeria is that how do we ensure, right, we take the benefit of cryptocurrency and deal with the potential negative side, which could also be investment loss, because if you save cryptocurrency, in a day you can have a fluctuation about 10%. So an investor that does not have adequate knowledge can lose quite a lot of money. But nevertheless, we need to find a way to embrace it. And we know several central banks in the world have adopted our testing central bank digital currencies. I think that's one of the things our central bank needs to begin to adopt.
With a vibrant youthful population, an innovative tech ecosystem, an unstable currency, a high remittance activity and soaring profits for investors, the cloud of uncertainty hovering around the Bitcoin market may not linger for long owing to the fact that the global economy has embraced cryptocurrencies. Nigeria, one of the largest economies in Africa, will not want to be left behind. Welcome to the second part of our show. Afreximbank, the African Import-Export Finance Bank, has just opened a $4 billion fund to enable African states to cope with the impact of the war in Ukraine on food imports and costs. The United Nations World Food Programme has warned that the closure of the port of Odessa will jeopardize the delivery of shipments of split peas and barley destined for sub-Saharan Africa. In East Africa, the additional costs of purchasing agricultural raw materials will weigh on the emergency food supply of vulnerable populations, and this even as the region faces a catastrophic drought. Meanwhile, the tone is rising between the Nigerian government and the shareholders of the liquefied natural gas producer Nigeria LNG. The government criticizes the shareholders, which are the primary oil majors Shell, Total and Eni, for delaying the purchase of the additional raw materials needed to increase gas production. The idea would be to export more Nigerian liquefied natural gas to Europe to replace Russian imports. But can Africa even partially replace the Russian energy giant, or will the continent suffer from the crisis too? To understand this paradoxical situation, our correspondent in Lagos, Sharafa Abagun, spoke to an expert, the editor of the Nigerian journal Oil Plus Gas, Toyin Akinosho.
Toyin Akinosho, hello. How do you analyze the impact of the current situation for Africa? Who will be the winners and losers in the oil and gas export market?
Africa is not taking advantage of the rising prices of crude because most of its countries are failing in terms of output. Nigeria's output is down, Ghanaian output is down, Côte d'Ivoire is not doing terrific in terms of volumes. Algeria is doing very well in terms of gas production. Egypt is doing very well in terms of gas production. But in terms of crude oil, the countries that are producing crude largely, including Angola, the production is down. So when you have a barrel, when you have $100+ per barrel, these countries are not taking enough advantage of those barrels. Now, winners are companies. A company doesn't have the kind of challenge that a country has. So if you produce more crude and gas, regardless of what the country makes, I mean, a company can do a whole lot better.
But more specifically, what will be the consequences of the war in Ukraine on gas exports from Africa?
Africa's gas production should ordinarily take advantage of the crisis in Ukraine. But we wasted it already, and maybe we can get it back. As far back as 16 years ago, there was already that sort of crisis in, the evacuation of gas from Russia to Europe, that the Europeans were complaining, and it had something to do with this same Ukrainian-Russian challenge. As of that time, there was on the table a gas export plan from Nigeria to Algeria to Europe. That plan was never activated. So Algerian export to Europe dwindled. Algeria was not investing as much as it should. And then Algerians were consuming more gas. So essentially, the one country that was exporting significant volumes of gas to Europe wasn't pushing. And a country like Nigeria that had those kind of volume in the subsurface that they could export to Europe wasn't doing enough, wasn't even doing enough for its own domestic gas production. And that's where we are. There hasn't been infrastructure, there hasn't been what you might call the oomph, to get gas going, So gas has not been invested properly in on the continent. So in the short term, we're not going to gain, but companies are beginning to understand that, especially European companies working on Africa, they want to deliver African gas to Europe. And they're working, all systems go. So we might be able to take advantage in the long term. But right now we can't. Egypt can't. Egypt doesn't have the kind of volume that could deliver to Europe. But Egypt has the infrastructure of, delivering, via the Mediterranean, that sort of thing. But they don't have the volume. Nigeria has the volume, but where is the evacuation, to Europe? So Mozambique is just coming up. Nothing would begin to happen until 2025. Some gas is coming from Coral South in Mozambique from August 2022, but that volume is a little bit of a trickle. If you add everything up, we can have some fairly significant volume, but in the short term, no, we're not going to take advantage of that crisis in the short term. In the long term, perhaps.
Toyin Akinosho, editor of the Oil and Gas Report, he spoke to our correspondent in Lagos, Sharafa Abagun. A cybersecurity university for all countries in the Southern African Development Community. It is for next year, if we are to believe the government of Zimbabwe. They have been working since 2019 on this project, which should provide from Harare a hybrid training in face-to-face but also remotely for students from Southern Africa. It is very popular all over the world, and yet its production is stagnating. Honey is the first victim of insecticide and herbicide spraying and climate change. Its consumption, which is more popular than ever in the United States and Europe, is dependent on imports. A juicy market dominated by China, but into which Africa has entered on tiptoe, as here in Burkina-Faso. Take a look.
Honey is one of the most sought-after products on international markets. Faced with growing demand, more and more Africans are trying their hand at beekeeping. In Burkina Faso, as elsewhere on the continent, honey production is a traditional activity common to almost every household in rural areas. In the villages, production is a low-input activity. The bees don't need feeding or taken care of, and no extra supplements are required. The only investment is the hive.
In a good season, we can make $200. When it hasn't rained too much, it's more like $100 a year. I've been producing honey for 15 years, and I've not been able to school my children and even feed my family when harvests are not enough.
The country produces around 500 tons of honey each year. Although, as the sector is not clearly structured, this is an estimated figure. Locally based organizations are busy persuading people to modernize their activities. In Zinariye, the Wendyam Federation has distributed almost 2,000 modern hives among the region's beekeepers. This NGO makes sure producers obtain better rates by treating the wild honey they collect. With a supplementary process, the honey can be sold directly to supermarkets in major cities. We are encouraging boutiques and supermarkets in Ouagadougou to sell our products. We also have orders locally from private individuals, as well as private orders from international clients in Belgium.
Mais actuellement, c'est au stade vraiment d'une consommation privée à leur niveau.
The international market has huge potential. If African countries such as Burkina Faso are going to reap the full benefit, they must first professionalize sectors that are struggling to satisfy demand for large orders. Furthermore, they will also need to respect strict quality controls to obtain the much coveted seal of approval from the European Union, their principal client. Until a certified label is established, local projects to process honey are catering for demand from the Burkinabes. Jacques Koidima, an engineering technologist, has become a specialist in honey production. He now has his own agroecological farm in Ningdugu, in the east of the country.
Nous ne faisons pas seulement que produire. Nous travaillons sur un plan.
We're not just producing, we're working transversally to develop production techniques and tools, improving hives and equipment.
L'amélioration des ruches, des équipements d'exploitation, etc., etc. Nous travaillons également sur l'acteur principal même.
We're also working with the key players, namely the bees themselves, to select the best colonies with the highest yields.
Nous avons, par exemple, beaucoup utilisé le miel et ses dérivés dans.
We are using honey and its derivatives to produce cosmetics, soap, pomades, cream and lotions, as well as pharmaceutical solutions.
Les crèmes, les laits, etc., ainsi que certaines solutions pharmaceutiques.
Aware of the sector's vast potential, the public authorities have decided to promote what is known as non-timber forest products, namely products such as nuts, berries and honey. The main challenge they have to face is to halt deforestation caused by forest fires as well as excessive use of weed killers and pesticides. There are also plans to devote huge areas of land to the cultivation of honey plants. The sooner such plans are put into action, the better. Western beekeepers watch helplessly as honey production is affected by dwindling bee populations, decimated by air pollution and the use of chemical fertilizers. Africa stands to gain from getting busy with its bees.
Well, it's now time to reward our loyal viewers of Business Africa. It's up to you to answer to the following questions. If you're drawn among those who have given the correct answers, you will win $150. This is game number 574. So listen carefully to the two questions that follow and good luck. First question. What was Muriel Hungavu's first gig? Decorate a church, repaint a hair salon, decorate a bank. Second question, what equipment is needed for beekeeping? Inputs, bee food, a hive. You know the answers. You can participate now by going to our website africaonair.com. In the replay section, answer the questions, fill out your form and good luck. And of course, don't forget to include your contact details, name, address, telephone, email, and the number of the game you are entering with the answers. Of course, this game, for example, is game number 574. Check out the terms and conditions in the replay section on our news website, africaonair.com. The winner will receive $150 as our winner this week. Congratulations! You gave the correct answers to our game number 573. Here are the details. First question, how many pairs of shoes are produced per day by an Asakuba craftsman? The answer, 3 pairs. Second question, what does Mohammed Noor sell? The answer, clothes. Well, that's it. Business Africa is over for today. I'll see you next week, same time, same channel for Initiative Africa. The writer Annie Lulu, winner of the Senghor Prize for the first French-speaking novel, will be our guest. In the meantime, you can of course watch this show again on our news website, africaonair.com, as well as on all our social media channels. Feel free to share, like and comment using the hashtag BusinessAfrica. Take care of yourselves and see you next week. Bye-bye.